What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Cannonballs podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Dane Cannon. Co-hosting with me today is
your boy, Jake Bulls. Man.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to preface this video by saying Chicago and Seattle fans, we're sorry.
Oh, yeah.
We're sorry.
They made us eat our... I mean... They made everybody eat their words because we're not the only ones who thought that both these teams were terrible. And it is Monday night as at the time of we're recording, so we just got finished with that insane Seattle Broncos or that Seahawks Broncos game. Man, there's a lot to unpack this week, Dane.
There's a lot, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that I will say is this is definitely one of the wildest week ones I've seen in recent memory. There's a lot that happened, whether it's injuries, whether it was upsets, whether it was just things that weren't expected. There was so much that happened. And granted, it is week one. Anything can happen. We did say that in our last video. I think it did still surprise me with some of the outcomes of the games. But, Jacksonville, what was it like? Was it 2 years ago when they won one game? And it was against Indianapolis, and it was week one. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case for like a team like Seattle and Chicago. I do apologize in advance to those fans of those franchises. You guys did have some pretty impressive wins, especially some decent upsets. But it could turn out like that for these teams. I mean, we'll get into it when we do our power rankings episode. We'll probably drop that after our week one takeaways. But that's what this episode's going to be. This is going to be our week one recap. We're going to go game by game. From week one, give our thoughts and opinions on the outcome of the game and where we were wrong and where we were right. So, did you have anything you wanted to add, Jake, before we get going?
Yeah. If you could describe this week in one sentence, how would you do it?
I fucking suck at picking games.
Yeah. If I had to describe this week in one sentence, it'd be there's a lot of sloppiness from some good teams. And the really good, I would say the upper echelon of the elite teams showed why they're there.
Yeah, agreed.
That's what I will say.
Agreed. I mean, some teams looked really dominant. Some teams looked very mediocre. Yeah. Sloppy, like you already mentioned. Some teams that we didn't expect. But we can get into it. So let's start with Thursday night, Jake. So we had the Buffalo Bills traveling to Los Angeles to play the Rams. And first and foremost, this was an ass beating. Buffalo completely manhandled the Rams. I don't think the stat line for Josh Allen completely tells the whole story. I mean, he had 2 interceptions in this game. However, it did
one of them wasn't his fault.
Right. The receiver dropped it. But, he still completed 26 of 31 pass attempts for a completion rate of 83.9%. He threw for 297 yards and 3 touchdowns. The guy was an absolute menace out there. Josh Allen shows why he is one of the best quarterbacks, if not, I might put him in that category of the best quarterback, especially after week one. This is maybe an overreaction, but I wouldn't say that anyone would put him out of their top 5. Josh Allen is elite. He's here to stay. Buffalo, they have a franchise quarterback for many, many years. And Buffalo just looked dominant. Their defensive line was so impressive to me. They completely shut down the Rams' offense. Matthew Stafford couldn't really get anything going. The rushing attack couldn't get anything going. It was just complete domination.
Yeah. The first drive, the Bills went down, scored like it was nothing. They stalled a couple of times. There was a lot of turnovers in this game.
Very true.
I think for me, just the biggest takeaway was how sloppy the Rams played. They're a good team, but it's week one. Anything can happen week one. Some teams are ready, some teams are not, as we can see in the result of some of these games. But the Bills dominated them, like you said. Every phase of the game. Even the running. There was a couple of fumbles from the other 2 running backs, but, Devin Singletary looked good. Stephon Diggs looked he looked like a top 5 receiver.
Oh, yeah. Diggs looked great.
He made Jalen Ramsey
I don't know what the hell Jalen Ramsey.
I'm not
going to lie. Jalen Ramsey, just looked lost out there. It looked like he wasn't even trying at some point.
He was playing the wrong sport. He was playing hockey on Thursday night.
Because he had him on skates.
Yep. Yes. Thank you for understanding my my joke. But I mean, it was pure dominance every phase of the game. Only thing I would have to say negative towards the Bills. Sorry, I dropped my pen. Be careful with the Josh Allen. take him out early. Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah. And the way he runs is not a Lamar Jackson style. Lamar Jackson will finesse you, juke you out, juke you out of your shoes.
Trying to take those big hits. Josh Allen
will truck your ass.
Yeah, he's going to try and run through you, but that could come at a risk. You could injure possibly the best quarterback in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
And I mean, really quick, I just want to touch on this really quick about the Bills' defense. Darrell Henderson was the main running back for the Los Angeles Rams. On 13 attempts, he only got 47 yards. Matthew Stafford, on 41 attempts, only completed 29, and he had 3 interceptions and only 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
It's just complete dominance, dude.
I think it was a result of just a really, really good Bills team, and there's a couple things missing for the Rams. Their offensive line was not there. They're missing Andrew Whitworth a lot. Von Miller looked like
dude,
his
Von
defensive
Miller, yeah.
Dude, he looked like his defensive MVP years. He balled out. I forgot about Von Miller. And then where were the other wide receivers besides Cooper Kupp? Matthew Stafford is lucky he has Cooper Kupp, because if Cooper Kupp wasn't there, it would have been an even rougher night. Cooper Kupp, he showed again why he was the Super Bowl MVP, the Triple Crown. Yeah. So, kudos to Cooper Kupp because he balled out unlike anybody else in this game. But yeah, this shows exactly why the Bills are my Super Bowl favorite. So
I do want to point out one thing. Jordan Poyer, the safety of the Bills, he had an interception in this game, but one thing that scares me is he did get injured, if I'm not mistaken. And that could be a significant loss. I don't know how much time he's going to be missing. But, I mean, you also had Dane Jackson, like the first name, Dane.
I was going to say something like that to you. You don't see a lot of players named Dane.
Yeah, you don't. But it's cool. I mean, Dane Jackson, he also had an interception. And Boogie Basham, dude, I loved him. I'm pretty sure Boogie came out of Wake Forest 2 years ago, I want to say. And the big man got an interception. I mean, they just had an interception on all fronts. It was awesome, and I loved it. I freaking loved it. Yeah. The Bills dominated this game. I don't know if there's too much more to say. I mean, do you have anything you want to add, Jake?
I mean, just keep it up. Don't get Josh Allen injured. And for the Rams, I think they'll be fine. But if they play like this, more often than not, it's going to be a rough couple season for them. They need to figure it out. I'm sure they will. They have a good coach. They have a good team. They'll figure things out. Because Allen Robinson, he got, I think, two targets for the game.
I was definitely expecting more from Allen Robinson. He just didn't show up. But a lot of that could have also been because Matthew Stafford was under pressure a majority of this game, it seemed like. I don't know how many QB hits and rushes that they had against him, or hurry-ups, I mean. But, dude, Matthew Stafford just didn't have time to throw it, and I'm sure that his safety net is Cooper Kupp because he has that connection with him already. It's going to take a little bit to build that connection with Allen Robinson. However, I'm not saying that it's not good, but I think that it will improve come later down the road. I mean, Allen Robinson's a good receiver. He's got good hands. He's got good route running. I think him and Stafford will build that connection. Oh, yeah. Is he on your fantasy team?
Yeah, he's on one of them. One game got me 1 point. He's on several of my teams, but I mean, the second leading receiver was Ben Skoranek, I think. Tyler Higbee. You got Tyler Higbee with 5 receptions, and then other than that, you got Allen Robinson with 1 reception. Oh, my fault. I said 2. 1 reception for 12 yards. It's just someone needs to step up, and like you said, that offensive line needs to step up. I mean, it was a hard test for that offensive line because the Bills are the Bills. So, I mean,
they're Super Bowl favorites for a reason.
Yeah.
That defensive line just manhandled the offensive line. I think the Rams will be fine. I think that they're still going to be a great team, but that was an ugly week 1. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes from there. All right. So Jake, moving on to the next game. The first game that we're going to talk about on the 10 o'clock slate for Pacific time is the New Orleans Saints traveling to the Atlanta Falcons. And this was actually a really good game in the fourth quarter.
Okay, so I'll say this right off the bat. The Falcons did not look bad for 3 quarters and about the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. They were winning, I think it was 26-10.
Yeah, they were winning. They were winning handily for a majority of the game until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota looked good. Drake London, correct?
Drake London, yep.
Drake London looked really good. Got some catches.
Kyle Pitts looked great.
Pitts got some good catches. And you know who looked the best? Cordell Patterson. Old man Cordell Patterson.
It's against the Saints. The Saints are notoriously good against rushing teams, and Cordero just had an amazing day for them. I think Marcus Mariota also helped out because his running ability kind of made defenses kind of play to that strength of the Falcons. But dude, it was impressive. Their offense looked good, and not only that, dude, their defense was sacking Jameis Winston a good amount. Their defense threw some blitz packages in there, and it looked good. Yeah.
Real quick, before we move on from Cordell, he ran for 120 yards. There was a reason I didn't start him this week. It ended up, being okay for me. But this man got 120 yards, and the Saints are a good rush defense. So, I mean, that's very impressive.
Dude, Marcus Mariota rushed for 72 on 12 attempts.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty impressed with Marcus Mariota, honestly. I was impressed with the entire Falcons team. I was too.
It was a good showing for them. It's just unfortunate the way that the game ended for them because they looked so dominant in the first half, and then in the third quarter, maybe near the end of the third quarter, it started going New Orleans' way. But out of 33 attempts, Marcus Mariota completed 20 of those passes for 215 yards. Not too shabby. I mean, I don't think he had any touchdowns, though, if I'm not mistaken. Did he?
He had a rushing touchdown.
He had a rushing touchdown. Okay.
Yeah, 0 interceptions, though.
Yeah, 0 interceptions. Looked good. 215 yards through the air and 72 on the ground. That's not bad. And, their defense was looking solid, man. I mean, it was just so unfortunate. They are a cursed franchise. And I feel for you Falcons fans because I'm a Chargers fan, and I know all about, just blowing games and blowing leads, which we can get into when we get to the Charger game because it felt like that was the way it was going to happen. But overall, I think Jameis Winston really bounced back in the second half of the game. Michael Thomas really freaking showed up in the second half. I mean, Michael Thomas had 2 touchdowns, big touchdowns. Alvin Kamara was utilized well. The defense stepped up when they needed to. Will Lutz with that amazing kick to win the game.
Chris Olave had a couple catches.
Yeah, it was an overall team effort in the second half, and I think they made good halftime adjustments. So New Orleans looked good. I didn't think it was going to be this close, but it is a divisional game, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and even with the comeback, Atlanta had a chance to win the game at the very end, but man, Younghoe Koo, Younghoe, right? That's how you say his first name?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so Younghoe Koo's he had like 3 field goals in this game, and he was hitting everyone perfectly, and then the one that matters, it gets blocked, so it's not really his fault. But they still had a chance to win this game, so I was pretty impressed with the Falcons Sunday.
Yeah, speaking
that's about it.
Blocked kicks, there were a couple this week which were just like, what is happening? Which we'll get into when we get to Pittsburgh. We'll get into that one. Do you have any final remarks on this game, Jake? I think it was a good win for the Saints. I just wish that they would have shown up earlier. But, good comeback win. Unfortunate for the Falcons. I think that the Falcons may be able to upset some teams this year. I don't think they're going to be going to playoffs, but it was a good showing for week 1. Just wish that they could have put in a complete game together.
Yeah. Not the fucking, sorry, excuse me. Not the fourth down meltdown that they had. They're used to that, though. All right, let's go to the next game.
All right, next game we have the Cleveland Browns traveling to Carolina to play the Panthers. Baker Mayfield says he was going to F up the Browns, and unfortunately that did not happen. The Browns win 26-24. He was close. He definitely had a chance to. He started off a little rocky, but then bounced back, and I think that was good. He had a really nice pass to Robbie Anderson down the left hash, and that was a huge time touchdown. Baker Mayfield, he also rushed for a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Baker Mayfield? Yes, he did. 6 yards.
Yeah.
He had 5 carries, 6 yards, a touchdown. Threw 16 for 27, 235, a touchdown, and an interception. So, yeah, he got sacked 4 times, though.
Which is kind of to be expected with Cleveland's front. Cleveland is still a really good team defensively.
Yeah, the Browns are dominating this game at the beginning. I'm surprised the Panthers made it a game. I'm glad they did. It made it more exciting. But I mean, I'm actually surprised that the Browns were able to score as much as they did. I kind of wrote the Browns off with Jacoby Brissett at home. But I mean,
really quick. Okay, I do want to point this out. Stats don't tell the whole story, but this was this was more like a rushing game, in my opinion, for Cleveland. Jacoby Brissett,
for sure,
out of 34 attempts, completed 18 for 52.9%. Only threw for 147 yards, 1 touchdown. Not bad. Not terrible. I mean, it's serviceable until you get your masseuse toucher. But, that's not great. Nick Chubb ended up rushing for 141 yards.
Jeez
That's
Louise.
great. Kareem Hunt rushed for, I think it was 40. Let me look it up. 46 yards.
46, yeah.
46 yards. And I believe that Kareem Hunt had a touchdown as well. Yeah, Kareem Hunt had a touchdown. And Nick Chubb just rushed for a lot. I mean, their defense stepped up. Their running attack looked good. It's just unfortunate. I thought Baker Mayfield really had an opportunity to F this team up. But, the Browns were still a good team. They almost did.
They had the lead with, what, a minute and a half left of the game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, I mean, the one thing that I do want to bring up, though, is what happened to Christian McCaffrey? Where was he this
3 years?
But where was he this game?
I mean, I don't know, man.
For 4 receptions, 24 yards, not bad. But 10 rushing attempts for 33 yards. I guess it's against the Cleveland Browns defense, but still, I mean, if you have one of the best, if not the best, running back in the NFL when healthy, I expect more. So I'm sure that they'll improve moving forward. It was a rocky start for Carolina. I'm not too concerned with them competing in games, but, not too terribly impressive in my opinion. Baker Mayfield, 16 for 27, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Not terrible. He had the rocky start, but, I think that they'll improve.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that game. I just watched some highlights. Wasn't too interested in that game at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pay attention to every game, specifically, even just watching the condensed versions, because both Jake and I work, so unfortunately we're not able to watch the entirety of the game. If you guys leave a comment down in our comment section telling us that we're stupid, you can inform us on why we're stupid. Maybe we didn't get to see a play or how players performed in this game that you would like to mention. Feel free. But anyway, moving on. I know Jake saw this game. This was one of the bigger upsets of the week. We have the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Chicago to play the Bears. Do you want to start this one off, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was a rain game. There was a lot of mistakes done. It's kind of like the Seattle or the Broncos game. A lot of penalties. There was a couple of them where drives just kept getting extended because of penalties. So that sucked. And there wasn't a lot of missed throws, but there was some timely missed throws by Trey Lance. There could have been a touchdown to one of our backup tight ends. Tyler Croft. So that was unfortunate. And I will say this though: the defense played lights out for the first half.
Yep. Agreed.
Talanoa Hufanga.
He's a beast. Is he a
dude? He's a second year player.
Is he from SC?
Yeah, he's from USC.
Of course, all the Samoans go there.
Bro, this dude looked like fucking
Troy
excuse me.
Polamalu.
Yes, I was watching. Dude, he made every play in the first half.
He's a stud, man. When I saw him out there, even just in preseason, I was like, dude, who is this guy? Because I actually didn't know who he was, and I was like, dude, this guy's a thumper. This guy likes to hit. He's good in pass coverage. His tackling is special. He knows how to fucking. Gosh dang it! I cussed again. Darn it! Take us down, YouTube.
So the defense played good. They played really good. The first half. And then I think I don't know what it was. They just a lot of mistakes. Missed throws, missed opportunities, and then every play that the Bears got was a broken down play. Justin Fields, he is a very slippery quarterback. Good for him because he made some outstanding plays. There was 2 plays where the 49ers had him dead to rights and he slipped a tackle and boom, wide open receiver for a touchdown. So, and then by the time the 49ers were trying to come back, it's when the rain started really, really pouring down and it was just, I don't know if you saw, but it was almost impossible to catch and throw.
Oh, dude, the field was like a big giant slip and slide. Everyone was skating around out there.
Yeah.
Can I just want to mention one thing. So like you already mentioned, I think San Francisco's defense played lights out, especially in the first half. I think they looked well, or I think they played well. Chicago's defense actually surprised me. Even though it was a rain game and, there weren't as many passing attempts, their defense actually looked pretty good, which is one of the concerns that I had about San Francisco is just their offensive line, especially on their interior. I think that it will improve. You got to gel. You got to play together. You have to know how your tackle and guard work well together. You have to get that communication down. And I think Trent Williams will be able to help. I do want to say it's unfortunate that Elijah Mitchell got hurt. That's not a good sign, especially because when he went out, he looked like he was having a good day rushing. And then when he goes out, then the rushing attack kind of just died down after that, which is unfortunate. Hopefully, do you know how severe the injury is, Jake?
Yeah, he ACL, MCL, it's something in his knee. He's going to be out for 2 months. So, he's honestly, he'll probably be out for the season. You're out for 2 months. That's pretty much the entire season.
Half the season, yeah.
And if you come back, are you in shape? Have you been? I mean, I don't know, man. So I would say he's out for the season. It's unfortunate, but this is why they draft a running back like every draft for depth. The running back the run game is key for this offense, and that's why they weren't able to move. That's why they weren't able to score. So look for Deebo Samuel pulling another last year and being a rushing and receiving threat again. I mean, he did have a rushing touchdown this game, but honestly, I would be more upset if it wasn't week 1. But
not
just
to
a slop.
mention,
It was
2 other teams in the NFC West lost as well.
Yeah, and these are all 3 supposed playoff teams, and the one. The worst team in the division ends up winning. How does this happen? I do not know. But it's the NFL, any team can beat any team. It's the top of the top. But you know what? If you're a 49er fan like myself, throw this one out. We will be fine, folks. And honestly, I know people will blame Trey Lance for this. He did make some errant throws, yes, but it wasn't all his fault. It was the entire team's fault.
Not only that, I mean, you also have to take into consideration how difficult it is to throw a football in the rain. I mean, let's just go over this really quick. Justin Fields he completed 8 passes on 17 attempts, 2 touchdowns and an interception, 121 yards. That's nothing. Trey Lance completed 13 of 28 for 164 yards and 1 interception. The rain does play a factor. I'm not going to use that as an excuse why the 49ers lost because I believe they still should have won. I'm going to take inclement weather out of the scenario. But I mean, look at this. Like, their defense was so good. David Montgomery on 17 attempts only got 26 yards. And Justin Fields only got 28 yards. But, he did look pretty decent. He was able to escape the pocket when he needed to. So Trey Lance also looked pretty decent on the ground. 13 attempts, 54 yards.
Yeah.
I think that they'll have a bounce back week. I am concerned about the line and losing Elijah Mitchell, but we will see.
Yeah, obviously the next man up. We got our rookie. We got Jeff Wilson. We got actually 2 rookies. So someone's going to step up, and we'll see. But, on to the next week.
All right. After that game, we have another upset. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cincinnati to play the Cincinnati Bengals. And this one was wild. This one was wild. I did not think that Pittsburgh's defense was going to play this lights out. I mean, dude, it was impressive to see Pittsburgh's defense look like this. I mean, I know that they had a lot of injuries last year, and that probably contributed to why their defense didn't play the way that it needed to. But, dude, Mika Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, what's his name, Cameron Hayward?
Yeah.
Dude, beasts.
Yeah.
They disrupted Joe Burrow all freaking day. And, Joe Burrow's stat line was still decent in, yards and touchdowns, but he also threw 4 interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. That's crazy.
4 interceptions.
Yeah, okay, I have it right here. 33 completions on 53 attempts for 338 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions. That's insane. Joe Burrow's not known for throwing that many interceptions.
Yeah, the defense played lights out. I didn't even every highlight I saw for this game, it was mostly defense. I didn't really see much on the offense. Trubisky threw for 194 yards, and he didn't throw an interception. one touchdown. Who did he throw it to? Oh, Najee Harris. Okay.
Najee Harris only had 23 yards on the ground.
How does Chase Claypool? Chase Claypool had more yards rushing than him. I think Najee Harris did get injured, though, if I'm not mistaken.
I know that TJ Watt got injured, and he's going to miss some significant time, which is a huge loss for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Imagine being Derek Watt, man. You just have JJ and TJ
right now. Oh, Jake's coughing, ladies and gentlemen. Jake's sick because if you guys didn't know, he went to a bachelor party this last weekend in Vegas, where he lives. So
I was already starting to get sick, though. So I don't even know. This game went to overtime. Yeah. Oh, and then
this is the blocked kick.
Yep. There were several missed kicks, blocked kicks. Special teams, man. When there's 2 good teams, special teams is sometimes the deciding factor. Man, this game reminded me of when the Bengals played the Packers last year.
Yeah, it really did. But Evan McPherson made, I think his first kick was a 59-yard field goal, if I'm not mistaken, and then he misses a 20-yarder, and then has one blocked for the win. Oh, it's rough, man. That's brutal. It's really brutal, but
yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, the Steelers, sometimes when I think of the Steelers, I think they're not going to be good because of the quarterback play. But I think we forgot how good this defense is, and they do have pieces on that offense. And it's the AFC North. This has been a notoriously difficult division for years.
Absolutely. And Jamar Chase started right where he left off, by the way.
Oh, my
Chase
gosh.
looked fantastic. Did you see that almost touchdown with the one hand?
Yes.
Oh, my God. If he would have gotten that down, elite catch. That's like a Odell Beckham Jr. catch.
Bro, him, We'll talk about this next. Justin Jefferson, we'll talk about him later, and then Cooper Kupp, man. And Stephon Diggs, man. Those are the receivers of the week, I think.
Oh, absolutely, agreed.
They were animals, beasts. But yeah, I'm surprised to see. I mean, yeah, it's a division game, week 1. Rough start for Joe Burrow though, but hopefully he'll get it together because.
Oh, there's not a doubt in my mind that he'll get it together. I mean, Jamar Chase looked great. Joe Mixon looked good. Tyler Boyd also looked good. T. Higgins. I don't think T. Higgins did too much this game.
He got injured.
Did he get injured? Okay, that's what it was. Okay, that makes sense.
So hopefully they'll bounce back. But good win for the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, put our feet in our mouth.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, the next game was another wild one. And this one was fun, man. I didn't get to see all of it, but I did get to see some of the game. And it didn't seem like it was going to be that good of a game, and then it just turned into a nail-biter. We have the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Detroit to play the Lions. And Philadelphia barely escaped this one.
Yep. Dude. This is what we were saying. This is what we were saying last year, when we still were, on the fence about being a football podcast. The Lions are going to play every team they play as hard as they can.
Yeah, man.
And, they're going to come away. Like, if there's ever a team that I'm going to choose to upset another team, it's going to be the Lions.
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely not going to be the Bears, unfortunately. But, I'll give the Bears kudos for that game. But the Lions, man, they have something going, I think. Whether I think it's the coach, I think it's, just they have really tough players, man. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, they both scored a couple times. I mean,
DeAndre Swift looked freaking amazing, by the way. I mean, 144 yards on the ground. That's impressive. But yeah, Jared Goff looked good too.
Yeah, two touchdowns, an interception.
215 yards, 21 completions on 37 passing attempts.
Amon-Ra got a touchdown.
Dude,
DJ Chark got a touchdown.
Yeah. And their offensive line looks pretty freaking good. Good.
Unfortunately for the Lions, they did play Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown was definitely, I think, the difference maker for Philadelphia. But, I mean, they also had like two or three running backs who scored?
They had 3. Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott.
Yeah, all 3 of the running backs scored a touchdown, which is impressive. Jalen Hurts
also scored a touchdown.
On the ground. Yeah, he scored. Jalen Hurts, 18 completions on 32 attempts, 243 yards, no touchdowns. But yeah.
A.J. Brown, 155 yards receiving. Jeez Louise, man.
Yeah.
God.
All their touchdowns came on the ground, though.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be an ugly game at one point when they had that pick 6 against Goff, but Detroit they came back, they bit a kneecap, they fucking, dude, every time. They kept going, and then they bit another kneecap, and here I go. I think I've already said the F word 4 times, so maybe I'll edit it out.
I think the Lions, they were playing from behind at the beginning of the game, if I'm not mistaken. So the Lions, I mean, this is what separates good teams from, or let me say this. This is what separates teams that win and teams that don't win is, these close games, how do you pull out, how do you find out what you're made of and figure out how to win. So I'm impressed by both of these teams. We're high on the Eagles, and I like what the Lions are doing.
Yeah, I think time will tell like how good the Eagles' defense will be. Their offense is going to be good. I mean, they have weapons everywhere. Detroit, they're not going down without a fight. Their offense looks good. Their defense made some plays as well. But yeah, we'll move on to the next game. Good game or good effort by both teams. I think that both teams the Philadelphia Eagles will definitely surprise a lot of people, I feel like, because they are my number 1 seed in that division, especially since Dak's out now. All right, the next game. What the F was this? I mean, we already had a tie, and it's week 1, and it was Indianapolis tying with Houston. What the flip? What the flip flap cracker jack? What is this? What the heck happened?
The Colts looked slow. The Colts looked slow at the beginning of this game, and the Texans did not. And you know what? The Texans' defense came to play.
They did.
They got a fourth down stop, I believe. Sacked Matt Ryan a couple times. Matt Ryan threw an ugly interception.
That's one thing that I wanted to mention is Houston actually got after Matt Ryan pretty well, and Indianapolis is a pretty decent offensive line, if not a really good offensive line. And I was surprised with how much duress that Matt Ryan was under most of the game. But yeah, it was impressive.
They didn't just surprise me. They impressed me. You know who impressed me the most on this team? Davis Mills.
Davis Mills had a good game. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Out of that class of quarterbacks, he played the best this weekend. Justin Fields played pretty. Man, I wouldn't say he played great. He had a couple good plays, but Davis Mills played good, man. And they were pulling out all the stops, flea flickers, you name it. Jesus. But Jonathan Taylor, he still had 161 yards on the ground. Yeah.
I think it was a slow start, but once he started going, he was really going. And Michael Pittman Jr. had an amazing game also, 121 yards through the air.
Louise.
What surprises me the most is Matt Ryan threw for 352 yards, but only 1 touchdown, and he had an interception. And then Davis Mills threw for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, I don't know, man. The Houston Texans couldn't do anything on the ground. Rex Burkhead had 40 yards. Dameon Pierce, who I thought would have been a lot more utilized, he only got 33 yards. But I don't know, man. Brandon Cooks looked good. Their defense looked good. I think Houston might upset some people this year. It could just be week 1 things, but Houston impressed me. Indianapolis did not, other than 2 players.
Derek Stingley Jr. looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I saw some highlights of him. He was all like white on rice, man. He's solid. But yeah, this was a shocking outcome. But
this is a game Indianapolis should have won. They should have won this game. You got an upgraded quarterback, good running attack, good receiver, good defense. Yeah. Houston's not supposed to be this good. Could be week 1, but Houston impressed me. Good job to the Houston Texans in week 1. Are you ready to move on to the next game?
Yeah, let's do it.
This one was pretty ugly. Wasn't the most exciting game, but the New England Patriots traveled to Miami to play the Dolphins. And I don't know if you know this stat, Jake, but Tua is actually 4-0 against New England since his time at Miami. And he is the only quarterback to have at least 4 games against New England in the Belichick era and be undefeated.
Is he really? 4-0?
4-0.
Wow.
Surprising.
Wow.
Really surprising.
Yeah.
But
that is.
New England just looked like crap, in my opinion.
I think out of I can't even say this, but they looked ugly.
Mac Jones got injured too, didn't he?
Yeah, he something in his back. I think it came back negative, so it's nothing too serious. But yeah, man, they just did not look good.
They just don't have receivers. I mean, you have Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, who combined had 55 and 28 yards respectively through the air. It's not that impressive. Damian Harris. I thought Ramondre Stevenson was going to get more utilized in this game, but it was Damian Harris who was a little bit more utilized, 1 more attempt. But they only had 48 and 25 rushing yards. I don't know. Where
did the points come from?
Their points?
Oh. Ty Montgomery? Okay. Ty Montgomery is the only one who scored on this game.
Yeah, but Miami was getting after Mac Jones. Their defense looked good. Jalen Waddle looked good. Tyreek Hill definitely adds another dimension to this offense. Miami could be a dog team this year. They have some dogs on that team. So I think that they could they could definitely make playoffs this year. It's week one. This could be an overreaction. Tua looked good. I will say Tua looked good.
He looked good at times. He threw some of the ugliest passes I've ever seen, though.
He has that, but he is also he is pretty accurate with the ball. I will say that. But some of the balls that come out, you're like, what the heck? Like, he'll throw a flat and then throw it like 2 yards the wrong direction. You're like, what the heck was that? And then he'll hit like a 25 yards like a post and just nail it right on the money.
Yeah, I don't get it. But I like, how like some quarterbacks, like their throwing mechanics or whatever you want to call it, they're just like pretty. Like, it's just pretty to watch. The way he throws the ball is like probably one of the ugliest like throwing mechanics.
I think it's the windup.
Yeah. Maybe it's the left hand. I don't know.
Could be.
But hey, you know what? Good for Tua. He won.
He still completed 69% of his passes, 23 completions on 33 attempts, threw for 270, 1 touchdown. Pretty good. Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert didn't do much on the ground.
Pretty shocked about that, actually.
I am too, but Chase Edmonds actually did something with the receiving game, on 4 receptions, 40 yards, so 10 yards a catch. Not bad. But it was mostly Tyreek Hill and the Jalen Waddle show. That's what it was. And then their defense.
Yep. They got after it, man. Melvin Ingram got a scoop and score. And they were just getting after Mac Jones. But, yeah, good for the Dolphins.
Okay, so now that Jake is back, we have the next game, which is the Baltimore Ravens traveling to New York to play the Jets. And
I don't got anything to say.
This one was pretty ugly. I mean, 24-9, not a very exciting game. Lamar Jackson looked pretty good. He only completed 56% of his passes, though. But, he made it work on the ground. Not too much, only 17 yards. But he had 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's worth something. He threw 2 to Devin Duvernay, who I really wanted in fantasy, but he showed up. Rashad Bateman had a really good touchdown. The Jets hung in there defensively for the most part, kind of. I mean, there were a couple big plays that kind of screwed them over. Joe Flacco didn't look terrible, threw for 307 yards, touchdown, and an interception. Michael Carter looked good. I think that they're going to utilize Breece Hall more in future endeavors, but, just not the best overall team performance. I know Baltimore is a good team, so that could be the main reason why New York struggled. It's week 1, but for me, the Jets just did not impress enough. They had moments where it looked like they were hanging in there, and then they would just give up a big play, or, they just couldn't do anything offensively. They would stall out, so I think that was the main issue, is the stall outs offensively.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I say I don't have much to say is because I watch NFL Red Zone, and I didn't see a single clip of this game. I believe they didn't show any part of this game. So yeah, I got nothing to say. I'm not shocked. Yeah, it's the Jets. So good job, Ravens.
All righty. Next game was actually a really exciting one. The Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Washington to play the Commanders. And, right off the bat, I think Trevor Lawrence looked better.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
He threw that interception he threw. It did not look good, but I mean,
no,
interceptions usually don't. But
he didn't look bad though. I mean, he was making some passes that were really pretty. He was looking good. I think go ahead.
He looked a lot better than last year. He looked like he's starting to piece things together. I think it's just a talent around him now. Christian Kirk looked decent. He had some catches. I think he's probably their leading receiver. Yeah, 117 yards receiving. So he looked good. Travis Etienne, man,
he got lit up.
Yeah,
he got lit up.
Yeah, and he dropped a wide open touchdown pass.
James Robinson looked pretty good though.
Someone dropped James Robinson in one of my fantasy leagues, and I kind of need running back help because they thought that he wasn't going to be playing, so I picked him up. Just casually scores 18 points, but yeah, he had 66 yards rushing, a touchdown. I mean, coming off an Achilles injury, that's huge. I mean, look at Cam Akers. He didn't do anything. That's probably just game script, but,
I think Travis Etienne will be utilized more down the road. I mean, this is his first NFL game because he was injured in preseason last year and he didn't even get to play. But, yeah, the Commanders' defense looked better. Even though the Jags still scored 22 points, Washington's defense looked pretty good. Going back to the Jacksonville side, though, I owe an apology to Louis. Trayvon Walker looked amazing. I said that Aiden Hutchinson should have been drafted before him. Trayvon Walker had an interception. First game, gets an interception. I think he forced a fumble and a sack. So he looked great. I mean, he looked good.
That was on the screenplay, correct?
Yes.
That was a dope ass play.
Yeah, and then Devin Lloyd also looked really good. I think he had 8 solo tackles this game, so those are 2 good picks. Josh Allen looked pretty decent. Other than that, not too much. Jacksonville looks like their defense is pretty decent this year, but I want to go to Washington really quick because there was a surprise player for me in this game. Can you guess who it is?
Antonio Gibson?
No, dude, Curtis Samuel.
Oh,
they were. It was interesting because Curtis Samuel was almost utilized in a way that Debo is, where they would use him in rushing attack and passing attack. And he had a nice touchdown. He only had 17 yards on the ground on 4 rushing attempts, but he also had. I think he had. Let me see if I can find it. He had 55 yards through the air, so not bad. Jesus Christ.
My fault. I forgot to mute myself.
Jake is very sick. But, yeah, Curtis Samuel surprised me. Antonio Gibson looked good. They utilized him in the passing game a little bit. Carson Wentz had some questionable throws. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns, which is impressive, 313 yards, but he also had 2 interceptions. I think he wishes he could have some of those back. But,
I thought Carson Wentz looks pretty decent. He did have, like you said, those some bad throws, but I think that's the best quarterback they've had since Alex Smith. So. Yeah,
and not only that, I'm super happy for Jahan Dotson, the rookie out of where'd he come from? Penn State. So
yeah, he got 2 touchdowns, didn't he?
Let me check. I know that he got the last touchdown to put them ahead.
Yep. 2 touchdowns, 40 yards receiving.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson looked good, man. Super happy for him. But yeah, I think both of these teams looked better than I anticipated, which is a good sign heading into week 2. You ready for the next one?
Yep.
Another freaking upset. The New York Football Giants come back, go for 2, and beat the Tennessee Titans. And gosh darn it, Saquon Barkley looked like his old self. I love to see it. Saquon looked amazing.
Back, baby. He is back. He looks good, man. He looks really good.
Dude, yeah, I think let me pull up his stat line. Saquon Barkley, 164 yards on the ground on 18 attempts. That's 9.1 yards average.
That's insane.
Dude, he had a tutty on the ground, and he had another 30 yards through the air, and then he gets the 2-point conversion to basically win them the game. Saquon Barkley looked amazing. I'm so happy for him because he's been dealing with injuries. Everyone's doubted him. He was a first-round talent, and, not many teams pick a running back in the first round anymore. And then everyone started to doubt him. Maybe he's another Todd Gurley type player dealing with injuries, arthritis, whatever it may be, and he looked good. He looked good, so I'm happy for him.
He looked really good. I think the most surprising thing on the Giants side is Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
2 for 71. I mean, he was their leading receiver, but they barely used what's his name? Kadarius Toney. They barely used him.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's pretty surprising. I mean, Daniel Jones, he looked like Daniel Jones, he showed flashes.
I think he had another fumble, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I think he had, did he have 2? I think he had 2. And an interception. I mean, this is his last year this is his last contract year, I believe.
I believe so, yeah.
He just reminds me of like a Carson Wentz. Like Carson Wentz, he can play good, and then he could just F things up. So I mean, they got the win, but they probably shouldn't have.
I think New York did a good job. I think New York did a good job of slowing down Derrick Henry, though. I mean, Derrick Henry only had 82 yards. I mean, that's still decent, but on 21 attempts, he's only averaging 3.9 yards an attempt. I mean, usually we're used to watching Derrick Henry rush all over people. Derrick Henry, I don't even think had a touchdown. Derrick Henry muffed, like wildcat formation and then screwed them over. Derrick, did you see the hit that the linebacker on New York had on Derrick Henry? He lit him up. He lit Derrick Henry.
He popped him.
I have never seen Derrick Henry get popped. And
I haven't seen that.
He flew.
I haven't seen a pop on Derrick Henry since Reuben Foster popped him. And that was before Derrick Henry was relevant.
That's before he was the Yeti.
Yeah. So that was an awesome hit.
I like the call also by Brian Dable to go for two in New York.
Oh, yeah. I love it. You're a bottom 10 team. That's what you have to do in those kinds of situations. You don't play for overtime. That's probably your only chance for a lead. And he did it. And you know what? They got very lucky at the end. But you know what? Good thing, because they wouldn't have won. For the Tennessee side, I mean, Ryan Tannehill didn't look bad.
266 through the air, 60% completion percentage. He had 2 tutties, no interceptions. So not bad. Not bad at all. I think that I would have utilized Treylon Burks a little bit more because he actually looked pretty decent when he had the ball in his hands. But
I think Dontrell Hilliard, he looked decent. He was their second leading receiver, 61 yards receiving. So
yeah.
I mean, they didn't look bad. I think
this is a week 1 win for the Giants.
Yeah.
But the Giants looked better than we thought because we had New York at 31 in our power ranking. They'll definitely move up. You beat Tennessee, you're going to move up. However, it took a while for them to look good, other than Saquon.
Yeah.
I think, dude, I'm so happy for Saquon. But, a good win for New York. It's impressive, especially when you have an upset because the Titans were heavily favored. Next game, oh boy. We have the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Arizona for a ass beating.
This was a slop fest from the beginning. Honestly, there's not much to say. I will say this. You said earlier Josh Allen proved that he's the best quarterback in the league. I beg to differ. Patrick Mahomes proved why he's still the best. He had 5 throwing touchdowns. I love Josh Allen, but Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes.
Real quick, I do want to say one thing. Arizona was injured. Zach Ertz injured. Marcus Golden injured. Rodney Hudson injured. Rondale Moore injured. Trayvon Mullen injured. J.J. Watt injured. Like, they were dealing with a lot of injuries out there. Like, you're missing your first string center. You're missing your first string tight end. You're missing a wide receiver. You're missing a couple DBs. You're missing your star defensive end. I'm not saying that this wasn't a good win for Kansas City, but I think that Arizona will play better when they are healthier because they had significant pieces that were missing this game. I think pieces that could have made a difference, honestly. Plus, D-Hop's out. You also miss him.
I think it could have been closer, but I still think this game showed why I'm not high on the Cardinals this year. Is they don't really have that many defensive players. They're going to be out with, they're like you said, they're going to be out without D-Hop. Let's look at the stats. I mean, Kyler Murray didn't play too hot.
No, not at all. I mean, he did a lot of the things that I didn't really like near the end of the year last year, where you start scrambling for yards and then get sacked. That's
the thing I don't like about Kyler Murray either. Like, instead of running forward, like, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, this guy likes to go backwards, and he takes a lot of sacks that way, and it ends up hurting his team. Other than that, man, it wasn't really. There's not much to say. It was just like you said, an ass beating.
Yeah, they couldn't get anything going on the ground either. I mean, James Conner only had 26 total yards. Benjamin looked pretty good, 28 yards on 4 attempts. But other than that, I mean, your receivers were Greg Dortch, an injured Zach Ertz, if I'm not mistaken, and Marquise Brown, AJ Green, Andy Isabella. But
yeah,
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Greg Dortch was the number 1 receiver in this game.
Yeah, he had 7 receptions for 63 yards.
Yeah, so
Next was Hollywood with 4 for 43 and a touchdown. And he didn't get that until the fourth quarter, I believe. So, it was just...
Yeah, they had some garbage time points as well near the end. But good win for Kansas City. They looked dominant. They looked absolutely dominant. They just have so many receivers that they can throw the ball to. Travis Kelce looked good. Sky Moore looked good.
Isaiah Pacheco in garbage time.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster made plays. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked really good. Their offensive line gelled. Their defense looked good. Oh, man. I hate to say it, but yeah, Kansas City, they looked freaking good.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready to move on?
Yep.
All right. This is my team. So we have the Las Vegas Raiders traveling to the Los Angeles Chargers. And I wasn't as impressed with this win as some people are making it out to be in headlines. Don't get me wrong. I love the way that my team played defensively. The Chargers played phenomenally defensively. But they had 6 sacks. They had 3 interceptions. And they were playing the run pretty well. And they only win by 5 points. Now, still, granted, that's better than what the spread said. That's better than what the bet was. Because I think that they were 3.5-point favorites. So they did better than what the analysts were saying. However, there were some really questionable calls by Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator for this team, that kind of threw me off. Like, I understand that we want to initiate the run to kind of put games away, take the time off the clock. But it was not working for the Chargers this game. We could not get the running attack going. Austin Eckler didn't get anything going. I think
36 yards rushing.
Yeah, that's nothing. And this was against a weak interior for Las Vegas. Like, we should have been able to run all over them. But Sony Michel, granted, he put the game away for us and got 2 yards, but I think he only had like 12 total yards rushing. Joshua Kelly looked decent. I mean, the one takeaway that I have for the offense is Justin Herbert looked great. He looked great. However, losing Keenan Allen, I think, threw this team off offensively because where was Mike Williams? Mike Williams wasn't utilized correctly. Josh Palmer wasn't utilized correctly. But, I mean, you have
2 receptions for 10 yards, Mike Williams.
Yeah, and then you have DeAndre Carter looked good. I'm happy that he had that touchdown.
He stepped up.
Oh, absolutely. Like
him and Gerald Everett. They both
Gerald Everett, and then Xander Horvath, our fullback that we just drafted from Purdue. I think in the first half we looked good. We were taking shots downfield. The offense looked great, but then we stalled in the second half, and maybe that's because we wanted to run the ball more. Maybe it's because Joe Lombardi wanted to take time off the clock, but you can't take your foot off the gas pedal in games like this, especially against a division rival. However, Khalil Mack, thank you, Jesus Christ, for sending this man to the Chargers. 3 sacks. Khalil Mack had 3 sacks, and I love that Raiders fans were saying that he's washed up. He's clearly not washed up. He's here to stay, and he looked great. Him and Von Miller, man, the old men out there were just making stuff happen. Derwin James got a sack. Joey Bosa had a sack and a half. We had 3 interceptions. Asante Samuel had a good play against Devontae Adams. He actually had 2 good plays, but then he got burned a bunch. But it's Devontae Adams, one of the best in the game. Bryce Callahan had a really good interception. And then Drew Tranquil, who was injured all week, came out to play and he gets an interception. Like, our defense looked good. And this is a high-powered Raiders offense. Like, this is one of the toughest matchups because of the receiving core, and Josh Jacobs is no slouch at the running game. I think that we just defense saved our ass this game. Defense won us this game because our offense stalled out. Questionable play calling. Justin Herbert looked great, but I think that they need to improve, especially in the running attack, if they're going to utilize it as much as they did in the second half.
Yeah, only thing I have to say about it is, well, two things. Justin Herbert is continuing to prove why I love this man. He just looks so good out there. And Devontae Adams, the Packers miss you, my guy. And, you look good out there. He did, sorry to say, he put Asante Samuel on some skates.
Dude, he put him in the blender on that one where he had like a 41-yard reception. Asante Samuel was like heading up the field, and Devontae Adams is at the hash. Like, what's happening?
He's proving why he's he's that dude. That connection between Derek Carr and him is it's only going to get more fun. But that was probably like the biggest impact. I mean, Darren Waller dropped a touchdown. That could have been a huge change in that game. I'll say this: you should thank the defense because Derek Carr played terribly. There was times where he was playing decent, but he just was not on it yesterday. So it was a good Chargers win for the defense. So I mean, that's what I think your weakness was last year. So I mean, that's good that you're improving in that.
Yeah, and I think our run defense looked better, but there were still a couple times that Josh Jacobs bounced it out, and then it was like 10 yards, and I was getting a little questionable. But yeah, defense played well.
Yeah. I don't even remember what I was going to say. All right.
All right, you ready to move on to the next game?
Yes.
All right. We have the Green Bay Packers traveling to Minnesota to play the Vikings. Green Bay did not look good. And Jake and I are both high on the Vikings this year, and they showed us why. I mean, they look great. Jake, I'll let you take this one away.
So real quick, we did have a difference in opinion when we were picking these games last week. I later picked in my picks for like different leagues. I changed my pick from the Packers to the Vikings, so you guys weren't able to hear that. The Packers were just like the Cardinals, dealing with a lot of injuries. They're dealing without their left tackle, their starting wide receiver, so it was just a bunch of rookies out there. But regardless, the Vikings look good. And Justin Jefferson looked so good. Oh my goodness, this guy is a threat. He just kept getting open. I mean, I need to see how many he had. Where is it? Oh, okay. 184 yards receiving on 9 receptions. What? Dude, that's crazy. And honestly, like, I knew the Vikings offense would be way more of an improvement. That defense impressed me.
Yeah.
That defense impressed me. They got after Aaron Rodgers. They frustrated him. And yeah, the Vikings, I hope they can continue this because they look really, really good. One thing I'll say about the Packers, there was a reason Aaron Rodgers was complaining about his wide receivers because wide open touchdown pass to Christian Watson at the very beginning of the game probably could have, changed the momentum a little bit. Yeah, he dropped it. It was a pretty bad drop. But like, I mean, nobody on the Green Bay Packers did anything. Nobody. AJ Dillon is the only one with the touchdown, but he only rushed for 45 yards. Their leading receiver was AJ Dillon with 46 yards.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't utilize Aaron Jones more though. On 5 rushing attempts, he had 49 yards on the ground. That's 9.8 yards an attempt. Maybe it's because they started getting down pretty quickly. But I mean, this is the opportunity. I mean, you're throwing to Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, Tyler Davis, I believe, Robert Tonyan, and then Romeo Dobbs, I think is his name, right?
Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah, you're throwing to a bunch of nobodies for the most part. Randall Cobb is older. He's not going to be the same. Sammy Watkins is hit or miss. Utilize the players that are going to do well. And Aaron Jones is a good receiving back. I don't see why they didn't utilize him more. I mean, he did get 5 receptions, but I don't know. Utilize him more, in my opinion.
If I'm the Packers, I'm leaving A.J. Dillon at the running back spot and putting A.J. Dillon or
Aaron Jones in the slot or something. Or I'm keeping those two on the field at all times. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is one of those quarterbacks who I think he wears his frustration more than most quarterbacks. Like, he shows that when he's frustrated, he really, really shows it. He wears his heart on his sleeve, you know.
Yeah,
you know when he's upset.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's a reason the Vikings manhandled them. There's never a point in this game where the Vikings weren't dominating. They dominate all 4 quarters.
I think Aaron Rodgers got sacked 4 times, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, let's look it up, my guy.
Rashawn Gary, I know, got 1.
I know their boys, Darius Smith, got a couple. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 sacks.
Okay, so it was
4 sacks. But I mean, he threw a couple interceptions too. Yeah, interception. My boy Harrison Smith got 1, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah,
it was just an overall good game for Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I will say, though, that Aaron Rodgers always has like one game where you're like, where the hell are you? Like, are you just not paying attention? And I think last year or the year before, it was against Tampa Bay, and he just looked like booty. And then he comes.
I think it was the last 2 years.
Yeah,
the last 2 years. 2 years ago it was against Tampa Bay, and then last year it was against the Saints. And the Saints dominated.
And then out of nowhere, then he just comes back and he's like, all right, MVP, Aaron Rodgers back. I'm not too concerned about
seed, lose to the 49ers in the playoffs.
I'm not too concerned about Green Bay. I think that the receivers will get things done eventually. It might be a slow burn, a slow start, but I'm not too concerned about Green Bay. I think that they'll be fine.
I'm more excited for the Vikings than I'm concerned about the Packers.
Yeah, same. Next game, one of the most boring games I've ever had the pleasure of watching was Tampa Bay kicking like
Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday Night Football. Tampa Bay goes to Dallas to play the Cowboys. My biggest takeaway is Dallas is in serious trouble. That offensive line looked atrocious.
And it got worse.
Yeah, it got worse. They had, I think, 2 injuries to their guards, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And then Dak goes out. Dak's going to be gone for, 2 months? However long the surgery healing process takes.
Mm-hmm.
Your main receiver, CeeDee Lamb, was being locked down. Zeke looked okay at times. Like, he looked like he was running angry, but then Tampa Bay made adjustments. It was ugly. The one bright side I will say is Dallas's defense looked good. Micah Parsons is a beast, man. He's an absolute animal. He plays out of his freaking mind. I think he had like 3 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. 2 or 3 sacks.
Yeah, Micah Parsons is a beast. I was already tired Sunday, and watching this game, I was just falling asleep. Like, it was, I mean, not much to talk about. I mean, the Bucks, Tom Brady, I mean, I feel like even with their offensive line, unfortunately, their left tackle got hurt, right? So their offensive line. So, I mean, can you blame it all on the offensive line for the Cowboys? Because, I mean, the Bucks' offensive line is depleted, and they did pretty decent. Like, Evans looked good. Chris Godwin looked good until he got injured. So, unfortunately,
I feel so bad. Chris Godwin's another one of those like injury-prone players. He just can't stay on the field. Leonard Fournette looked good. 127 yards on the ground, not bad at all.
He looked like a bowling ball out there, man. He was just
he's a big boy.
Everybody,
he's a big boy.
And 127 yards rushing.
Yeah, there was a catch by Julio Jones that showed a little bit of like hope. That was good for the old man out there.
Ooh.
I love to see it.
Yeah,
but
Julio looked good.
Yeah, he did. I think he only had like 17 yards total, but
nah, dude, he had 69 yards receiving.
Oh, I'm thinking of his rushing yards. Yes, you're right. 69 yards. Yeah, Julio Jones looked pretty decent out there. But yeah, it wasn't the greatest game overall because there were a lot of field goals in this. It was mostly a defensive game. Tom Brady didn't look particularly amazing as well. I mean, he threw for 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 212 yards. It's week 1. I mean, Tampa Bay's defense looked great. I will give them that. Their defense looked really good.
Yes.
So I think Tampa Bay is going to be just fine. You ready to move on to the next upset?
Yep, and you know what? Of course, the final game had to be an upset, and we got the Seahawks hosting the Russell Wilson-led Broncos, and you know, I was coming into this game, I'm like, well, if the Seahawks lose to the Broncos, you know, everybody will be 0-1 in the NFC West, and you know, it'll make the Niners losing to the Bears not so bad. But now the Seahawks beat the Broncos, upset them on prime time. And I mean, this game's fresh in my mind. So I mean, we could talk about it. I mean, Geno Smith balled out. Like,
yeah, Smith looked good. Rashad Penny looked good.
Yes,
Rashad Penny looked great. Noah Fant had a couple of catches. DK Metcalf. Mm-hmm. Tyler Lockett wasn't really utilized much this game, I don't think.
No, I think he got like 2 or 3 receptions. Let me look it up. But dude, and honestly, the biggest surprise in this game, yeah, he got 3 receptions for 28 yards. But the biggest takeaway from this game is that Seahawks defense.
Yeah, dude, Seattle's defense looked amazing. I don't know what it was. Russell Wilson was under a lot of pressure pretty much the entire game.
Yeah.
They also locked down Cortland Sutton until like the second half, like later in the game. Then Sutton started having some like catches here and there, but Judy had like a really good receiving touchdown. But other than that, like their run defense was looking good. They got to Javonte Williams a good amount in this game. Like Javonte had a couple big breaks here and there. Don't get me wrong, he's a great running back, but they stuffed him a couple times. And not only that, Denver fumbled on the 1 yard line twice. Seattle came up with 2 turnovers at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
The second one was like a good forced fumble. I can't remember how the first one happened.
I think Javonte, it was either Melvin Gordon. Was it Melvin Gordon the first one?
I think Melvin Gordon was the second one, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think Melvin Gordon was the second one.
Javonte like ran into the back of someone and just coughed it up, and then the second one, it was actually like a really good defensive play by Uchenna Nwosu.
And I know that man because he was on the Chargers, baby. And Uchenna's
that was a good play.
He's a good player.
I will say this. I think this game was I think the Seahawks played out of their minds. I think Geno Smith played out of his mind. And I also think the Broncos played terribly. I think they had a mistake-filled.
Also, they were heavily penalized. They were making mistakes left and right, holding PI,
late hits,
illegal formations, holdings were.
You name it.
Yeah, they did it. They just looked sloppy.
Yep,
and
that's they looked sloppy.
Surprisingly, their defense didn't necessarily impress me. I mean, it wasn't a high-scoring game by any means, but when you're playing against Geno Smith and you have Russell Wilson on your team, you would think that this game would be kind of a blowout in Denver's favor. But no, the 12th man came to help out tonight. You know, those decibels were higher than hell. And I don't know if Russell Wilson's ever had to play in that environment as the opposing QB. So maybe he's usually used to it being quiet. Maybe it kind of threw him off, being emotional. I don't know what was going through his head, but, you know, it was impressive. Seattle actually looked really good. That Rashad Penny was probably the player that impressed me the most for Seattle today. What about you, Jake?
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith?
There is a point in the game where he was perfect. He was like
7 for 7.
No, he was 14 for 14, like 150 yards.
Was he? I didn't realize it was that good. Holy cow.
He at one point he was perfect. He threw good balls. He stepped up, he ran. Man, I haven't seen Geno Smith this good since he was playing West Virginia, I believe. He played for West Virginia. Yes.
I do not remember what college he played at. unfortunately.
Oh, well, he balled out. He used to ball out in college. But yeah, it was, unfortunately the Seahawks won. So, geez,
I'm
man.
actually not too upset about it because Denver's in my division. So I'll take Denver losing. I'll take that the Raiders lose to us. But yeah, it was a fun, entertaining Monday night game. I enjoyed this one. It wasn't the highest scoring, but it was fun. It was entertaining, good defense.
I will say
for
this.
Seattle.
I think the officiating was spot on tonight, or Monday night. I thought it was really good.
Surprisingly, especially with how many calls there were in this game, but they were usually pretty damn good.
The only one I was like questionable on was the roughing the passer on Bradley Chubb. Yeah. He like hit him in the chest. I didn't think he hit him in the head. I don't know. But
the other one that I will say is like I think it was a taunting call, but like after the linebacker made the tackle and he just stares over.
Yeah.
Like, come on, give me a break. You can't throw a penalty on that. That was like bad.
They were trigger happy, but I mean, other than those two, I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, man, first week one in the books. Yep. It was a wild week.
Welcome to the Wild Wild West, everyone. This is crazy. I mean, usually the first 3 weeks, anything can happen. Week one's usually the most volatile and what can happen, who can win. But thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. We will be releasing a power rankings and our week 2 predictions. So stay tuned for that. If you're not already, please go ahead and give us a follow on our Instagram at Cannonballs with a Z_podcast. That's where we'll keep you guys updated for future episodes, stuff like that. Other than that, please like, comment, subscribe. Jake, do you have any closing remarks?
49ers better not lose to the Seahawks.
Is that who you guys play next?
Yeah. One coming off a huge win and one coming off a huge loss. So we will see. But other than that, thanks for listening. Yeah, I mean, enjoy the NFL season. We are. So click, like, subscribe, listen to the first 5 minutes. Go back and listen to our old episodes. Just help us out. And as always, peace.